Now I'd like to introduce Kent Thiry, our 2020 honoree for the Growth and Innovation Medal, given to an entrepreneur or business leader who has led with exceptional ingenuity and growth while inspiring and creating new possibilities for others. Our nomination partner for this award is Endeavor, Colorado. Kent was CEO of DaVita from 1999 to 2019, a Fortune 400 company with 65,000 teammates across 12 countries. During his time there, DaVita became known for its distinctively engaged culture and corporate social responsibility. In 2016, he led Let Colorado Vote, a group that passed 2 statewide ballot initiatives, reestablishing the presidential primary and opening Colorado's primaries to unaffiliated voters. Kent has founded several innovative nonprofits and initiatives committed to advancing economic mobility, including Colorado Thrives, Advance EDU, and the GAP Fund.
You know, Kent Thiry, one of our most successful major executives living in Colorado, could be doing almost anything with his time.
I love the concept of community and the notion that I'm a part of a community that's doing some good stuff in growth and innovation was really exciting to hear.
He's somebody who doesn't just talk about the importance of public service or building community. He's someone who actually does it.
Kent Thiry has culture on lockdown. There's a lot we could learn from him.
I think KT's business philosophy and, frankly, personal philosophy rolls through everything he does. He values community first, and then capitalism in everything he does.
He managed the company like a village and treated everybody who worked there as a, quote, citizen. And the point of all of that was to emphasize how everyone should feel a sense of responsibility and connection to each other to build a meaningful community at the company.
What really drives growth and what really drives innovation, it's all about connection and it's about people. And he's got this way of this infectious way of being able to really want people to come along and take the ride with him.
Over the past decade, you would struggle to think of a challenge we've had in Colorado where Kent hasn't stood up and said, how can I help? What can I do? He's been willing to work with anybody to deliver results for our state.
He's putting his leadership energy into really rallying and engaging other leaders to help the next generation of leaders throughout the state.
I think life is a team sport. I think democracy is not a spectator sport, it's a participation sport. And if you look at that, we simply all have to tackle these problems together or we'll all be defeated by those tackles. It is one of those cases, like in the old days, united we'll stand, divided we will fall.
He helped lead the effort to end partisan gerrymandering, which is corrupting our democracy by letting politicians pick their voters instead of voters picking their politicians. He opened our political primaries to unaffiliated voters, who are now the largest voting bloc in the entire state. He restored Colorado's presidential primary, which saw record turnout just this year. And right now, he's working to repeal the Gallagher Amendment to help our communities invest in schools and first responders, and to make sure we aren't hurting our small businesses at the very moment they're clawing their way back from the pandemic.
But it starts with incredible listening. What are your people, particularly the people that make lower incomes within your company, what are their lives like? What are their jobs like? And help them with a strong sense of Coloradans helping Coloradans, Americans helping Americans, citizens of the world helping citizens of the world.
You know, Kent Thiry is really a force of nature. When he most recently took on Gallagher Amendment, he was able to, through sheer force of will, defy what the political class of both parties thought was impossible and prevent a tax increase on our Main Street businesses at a time when they could least afford it. We are so grateful as a state for not just the involvement and the vision of Kent Thiry, but frankly for his success. It's one thing to have the idea or to cheerlead the idea. It's another thing to bring everybody together to transform a good idea into reality, which he has done time and time again. Kent Thiry, please stand and be recognized. We invite your guest to award you with a Colorado Governor's Citizenship Medal by placing it around your neck, and we invite you to say a few words about this honor.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Civico. And thanks to the citizens of Colorado. The events of the last 8 weeks have been a dramatic reminder for all of us about what citizenship looks like, what community looks like, what democracy looks like, all the more so when it's at risk. And so I thought tonight I would take a stab at reminding all of us about another time in our history where things looked pretty intense, where people were quite divided. If you'll please excuse the gender language of the time, but Abraham Lincoln and the Gettysburg Address, I hope. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the notion that all men were created equal. We are now engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We have met on a great battlefield of that war. We are here to dedicate a portion of that field to those who gave their lives that the nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper for us to do this. But in a broader sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave souls, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far beyond our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it must never forget what they did here. Rather, it is for us here, the living, to be dedicated to the unfinished work that they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. Rather, it is for us here to be dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these men shall not have died in vain, and that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government by the people, of the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. Amen, Abraham. Go America. Thank you, Governor.
Before I